What? What the hell's the problem here?
It says we're live.
Oh, all right. Sorry, everybody. Does it say we're live?
Oh, yeah.
No, mine's still saying we're live.
Really? Mine says live up in the left-hand corner.
Does it have the count going?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. I don't know why mine's not saying that we're live. I apologize, everybody, if you're watching this being like, hey, what's going on with these guys? And so my apologies. And now mine's saying that we're live out. That's just a great start. Gotta love it. Everybody, welcome to another episode of Tables, Ladders, and Chairs. I'm your host, Eric, joined as always by my co-host, Joe. Joe, how are you tonight?
Doing good. How about you?
Doing really good. Lots to talk about. It's funny. We took 1 week off and to watch the NFL draft, and boy, did a lot happen in that week.
Yeah.
NXT has new women tag team champions now in Candice and Indy Hartwell, which they had a fantastic match, a street fight with Ember Moon and Chauncey Blackheart. And I'll tell you, at first, I didn't like Chauncey. I thought she was too gimmicky and too much of that Halloween character.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I've seen her, she has impressed me even more.
Really?
I've become a fan of Chauncey Blackheart. And I didn't think that was going to be possible. Because I didn't like the look. And, not like that. I don't mean that to be chauvinistic or anything, but and this is a lot of times with whether male or female wrestlers. If you don't strike me in your first few seconds coming out to the ring with the way you look, I'm just not going to pay attention to you. And like I said, that's male and female. If there's a look, there's almost like an aura that's given off.
Right.
And if it doesn't strike me, then I'm pretty much tuned out to you. But Indy Hartwell has been that exception that started off not really impressing me, but has really grown on me. I'm sorry, I said Chauncey Blackheart is what I meant. Now, Indy Hartwell, I think, has a great look and just looks like a star, walks like a star, and is a star. So what do we want to start with tonight? So much to get into. Why don't we just go in chronological order? Last Friday, Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns for the Universal title, an absolutely fantastic match.
Oh, yeah.
Daniel Bryan, of course, losing, thus now banned from SmackDown. And there seems to be some debate as to his contract situation, and that maybe his contract has expired. WWE has not, formally announced anything. They moved his merchandise and his category to alumni status. I don't know what that means. It could be that they're just positioning it to look like Daniel Bryan's out, and that then they surprise us with a move to Raw or NXT.
Well, I heard that he got a neck injury.
Okay. That's the first I heard of that. Okay.
Yeah, the tag team match that he did.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that he messed up his neck in that tag team match.
Okay, so they're writing him off the story, whether it be completely forever or just temporarily. He's just off the story.
I don't know too much more about it. All I know is that he got the neck injury in the tag team match, and then he was saying about how he had to think about some things because his daughter likes to climb on his shoulders and ride up on there,
Sure.
And he was like, I couldn't do it because my neck was in so much pain. So, and he might be done.
Well, and look, if he is, like, he already said, like, this could have been his last WrestleMania, and if it was, what a way to go out, going out in the main event of WrestleMania,
Yeah.
and just an absolute knockdown, drag out match. And really, I mean, he did what would have been the right thing by the business, is he put over the younger talent.
Yep.
And the younger talent being Roman Reigns. So, I mean, in that respect, if that's the case, it almost makes me wonder if the move to let Roman keep the title was more of a move to allow Daniel Bryan to be the old school guy and put over the younger guy.
Probably. And I like how they're trying to set up. I think at Backlash is going to be Cesaro or Roman Reigns.
Yeah, it looks a lot like that.
Which dude, I know you'll go nuts if he gets.
If Cesaro, you know what I almost want them to do? I almost want them to do the like the old Chris Benoit thing with The Rock, when Chris Benoit and The Rock wrestled for the WWE Championship at Fully Loaded, and I want to say it was 99 or 2000. No, it had to have been 2000. And Chris Benoit like had a moment where he thought he had, like, we all thought he had won the championship, and has the championship in his hands, walks out, and before it's announced that no, he didn't pin The Rock, and so the match has to keep going. I want Cesaro to have that moment. Yeah, I know that sounds weird for me, like, being the ultimate Cesaro guy, but I feel like if they give him that kind of moment where it's so close, and like someone like me is losing their freaking mind because Cesaro, I think he's won the championship, just for them to take it away, I feel like that'll just make it all that sweeter once they actually do let Cesaro win the title.
Yeah, but then when are they going to let him win the title up?
See, I guess I just have faith that the audience is going to demand it.
Yeah.
They eventually did it with Chris Benoit, and they had him win it at the grandest stage at WrestleMania. And granted, it took 4 more years for him to do it, and it was the only world title reign that he ever had, which I'm hoping Cesaro becomes a multi-time champion. But look, I think what's lost in a lot of what they've been doing in recent years with having guys win the title like multiple times, making like even your lesser known historically champions are like 4 or 5 time champions. I think what's lost is the accomplishment of like the one-time champion, like a Chris Benoit or an Eddie Guerrero, who, like, those guys didn't have these 6, 7, 9 championships.
Yeah.
Like, they had one, and it was a great run. And like someone like me, I go back and just randomly watch an Eddie Guerrero championship title defense. And Joe's freezing. I hope this isn't a freeze on my end. It probably is, because we've been having technical issues since the start here tonight. What seems to be the problem here? But I don't know if anybody can hear me or not, and I don't have anybody live to talk to me. Okay, are you there?
Yeah.
Did I freeze or did you? I don't really even know.
We both just went black.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's
There's no picture on my screen.
Oh, that's great.
Wow.
On that screen, you froze, and of course, I kept going, and I wasn't sure if anybody could hear me. And nobody's live right now, so I can't get anybody to help me out. But so yeah, I was saying, I really I would like to randomly go back and watch old Eddie Guerrero title defenses, just because I think that there's something special about, you only had so many of them. You didn't have he won the title 6 times, and so you had 100 different title defenses to go back and watch. You only have a few, and Like I watched the Great American Bash where he lost the title to JBL not that long ago, and looking back, it's kind of a weak pay-per-view, but the JBL Eddie Guerrero match was fantastic, and that's what made it good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Eddie Guerrero made any match he was in good.
Yeah.
I,
And what's funny about that event, that match wasn't even the main event.
oh, wow.
The main event that night was a handicap match, Undertaker versus the Dudley Boys. The Concrete Crypt match where they had Paul Bearer in a crypt that with a concrete truck that Paul Heyman controlled the handle to, and basically he was trying to make the Undertaker do his bidding. And so anytime the Undertaker rallied offense against the Dudleys, he would pour more concrete in there.
Speaking of the Undertaker, I saw a thing on YouTube yesterday. There's just this show. I don't know exactly what it's called, but the Undertaker and his wife met some guy from WWE at a storage unit that had old memorabilia.
Oh, Hidden Treasures, WWE.
Yeah,
It's on A&E. Yeah.
and like it showed like the Undertaker, like he found his mask that he wore for a little bit.
Yep.
And then, do you know the story behind that mask?
Well, I mean, I know the wrestling angle that he broke his face and they made him wear a mask for 3 months.
Yeah, he actually because he said if he got hit in the where it was broken, then his eye would popped out.
Oh shoot! Yeah, and that match, or well, I think it was Mabel that attacked him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, because it set up Undertaker Mabel in a casket match, and it was 2 months later he faces Bret Hart for the championship, and Bret Hart takes the mask off of him.
And I guess it healed.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, that the show looks like it's probably a good show, The Hidden Treasures of WWE. I've also been enjoying their biographies that they did. I watched the Stone Cold Steve Austin one. I watched Andre the Giant. I have the Roddy Piper one to watch. I haven't watched it yet.
Is that only on cable or is that on the network as well?
I think that's only on A&E.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I don't know why they wouldn't put that stuff on the network.
I imagine eventually it will be.
I mean, they should. I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to be content. How can you not put that on the network?
Well, I know that Andre the Giant special was an HBO special that A&E somehow got the rights to air.
That's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, because HBO did a special on Andre the Giant. It was a few years ago, and I haven't had HBO since The Sopranos went off the air, and which, my God, has been, 14 years now or something?
Oh, wow.
It was 2006? Yeah, it was 2000 because it was a month before our friend and one of the hosts of many other shows. In fact, the guy over my shoulder here, Ryan, got married, and at the end of The Sopranos, when they cut out the whole thing where they're playing Journey, Don't Stop Believing, and cut out the lights right towards the end of the song.
Yeah.
Well, at Ryan's wedding, we arranged with the DJ and somebody else, when they played Don't Stop Believing, right towards the end of the song, cut everything out, cut out the lights, cut out the song. And so when they did it, it was hilarious because there were 5 people in the whole building that knew what that was in reference to, but us 5 loved it, including Ryan, who got the biggest kick out of it. It was because I thought Amy was going to freak out because she's like, "What are they doing? We have the hall for another 2 hours." Relax, Amy. It's a joke. Ryan gets it. But it was a fantastic moment. But yeah, so everybody been telling me, "Oh, Eric, you got to watch this show about Andre the Giant." I'm like, I don't have HBO, and so I saw it the night that the Stone Cold Steve Austin biography was aired. I saw that before that they had the Andre the Giant thing on, and so I was like, "Oh, great! I'll record that and watch that too." So I got a chance to watch that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So after years and years of people telling me, Eric, you got to watch the Andre the Giant special, I finally got to watch it.
Nice.
Yep. But speaking of specials, that's a great segue into a show that I am dying to get you to watch. It's called Dark Side of the Ring, and I want you to just go somewhere, find one episode, and I want you to watch it. And afterwards, I want to talk to you about it. Just any episode. Now, the ones that I would prefer would be either the Owen Hart, the final days of Owen Hart, the Montreal Screwjob, or Chris Benoit story.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they do all of those. And then there's a couple of the assassination of Dino Bravo, the death of Gino Hernandez.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, he's not the killing of Bruiser Brody is another good one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they don't shy away from the stuff that they interview Martha Hart and Oge Hart during the Owen Hart, the final days of Owen Hart, and they talk about how they'll never let WWE put Owen in the Hall of Fame,
Which I think is a disgrace to the Hart family, because why can't you let the fans enjoy him?
Well, their case is, and hey, Ryan, thanks for checking in, man. I think their rationale behind it is just that, WWE, they feel like WWE is in part responsible for Owen's death. They hired, and they won a lawsuit against a wrongful death lawsuit against WWE. They hired terrible people to do the rigging of Owen. In fact, in the episode, they show you the clip that failed Owen.
Mm-hmm.
She was able to get all this evidence, and she was,
wow.
including the clip that was holding the harness that failed Owen. And I mean, I can't tell you enough about how powerful that episode was. I get emotional when I watch it. Like, it's tough, and I'm not a heartless person, but a lot of times with a lot of shit, I don't get that the stuff that's made up. I don't get that emotional about most of the stuff that's made up, because I'm just like, whatever. Some guy in a Hollywood studio thought, hey, this will be really good. This will tug at people's heartstrings, and you got to work a little harder to tug at mine. The real life stuff ones, like something like Owen Hart, and hearing from Oge, his son, or I think it's Athena, that's the daughter's name. Hearing from them, that gets to me, because it's like they lost their father. And really it was because WWE hired a cheap ass company to do the rig. Originally they had a company that did all kinds of rigging for people like Elton John and other people who had descended, from the top of an arena.
Yeah, I mean, Sting. I mean,
Well, yeah, they were trying to make a mockery of Sting. Well, the guy who they hired had misrepresented himself in saying that he was more involved in the Sting operation than he really was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and which I don't know if that's really WWE's fault. They should do a better background check to see if what he's saying is true. They shouldn't just take him at his word.
Mm-hmm.
But really, I mean, the episode goes into how this weak ass clamp that's really just designed for if you're on a fishing rig, it'll carry it's designed for a quick release, because what they wanted was to save a couple seconds, because they had done a skit before with Owen coming down and him getting stuck in the harness, and now it played funny, and so it really worked for what they were going for. But I think they were trying to save a couple seconds on the Owen Hart release. And I know they wanted it to look not like they. The idea was he was trying to look like a superhero, but he was supposed to kind of half botch it. Like from my understanding, the way that the skit was designed to go, he was supposed to come down and look sloppy coming out of it because they wanted it to be a spoof on the Sting descent,
Right.
and so I think that's why they wanted to go quick release, so he could quick get out of it and stumble around and look foolish, and go right into the match with the Godfather.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, like the whole thing was crazy. Like, some people say they should have stopped the show, and I don't know where I fall on that. I remember at the time thinking, because I was watching the show live, and I didn't realize like where he had fallen from, and so like because I thought maybe he had gotten most of the way down and then hit the release a little too early and then fell and hit because they didn't show anything, and so I didn't know. And so, and at first they were like, oh, they were like, oh, this is bad. They're getting Owen out of the ring to the hospital, and I thought he's gonna be fine, but it was just they botched something and he maybe hurt himself, and because they didn't say, oh, Owen fell from I didn't learn that Owen had fallen from the top of the arena until later, and at the time. Thinking that okay, he fell and hurt his neck or something. I thought you don't need to stop the show. Keep going. I paid for this. Like a jackass. I said that. And now looking back, I certainly think they should have stopped the show. And thanks, Bald Eagle, for checking in. And we can definitely smell what you're cooking. Thanks for the comment there, Sean.
I mean, that's a hard decision because you have all those people that paid money to go to the event as well.
I don't think it's our decision at all. You refund everybody, and you take care that you gather all the evidence you can. The priority should have been the wrestler safety.
Well, yeah.
And think about all the evidence you contaminate. All these guys are coming out there to wrestle, and Owen Hart's blood is in that ring. You can see a stain over in the corner from Owen Hart's blood. And to me, what's that?
So I might have to rewatch that. I never saw that before.
Oh, if you can find it, because it's not on Peacock now.
Really?
Yeah, I went back to try to watch it this past weekend, and it was not available.
The whole pay-per-view's gone?
Yeah, the whole pay-per-view is not there.
That's not right. There's still.
I don't think. Look, it could be. It'd be an awfully big coincidence. I haven't had any issue finding any other WWE pay-per-view that I wanted to see, except that one. And
Maybe it's not on there yet.
Yeah, and I'm thinking maybe it's not loaded yet, because I know I haven't tried to find all of them. I'm sure there are ones that I just haven't thought of to try and look for.
Yeah.
But every other one that I've tried to look for, I've found.
Yeah, because you can't not put.
Yeah.
There's still good matches in that pay-per-view.
There was a big story in that pay-per-view. Stone Cold Steve Austin loses the WWE title to The Undertaker that night.
Yeah.
And I wonder if I go back to watch, because you know how they have every Monday Night Raw available. I tried to find, just because I knew it wouldn't be there, but the Chris Benoit tribute show. I just wanted to look to see what they put in place of that. And it was basically just a best of 2007 show.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that was a big tragedy what happened with that guy, because that was just crazy.
Well, look, I think, man, WWE has their tribute episodes. I think are some of the most emotional and raw episodes that you can watch.
Mm-hmm.
Starting back with the Brian Pillman one, to bring this back to where we started with this conversation. Tonight on, I think it's called on Vice, or I forget the television station, but Dark Side of the Ring. If you search for it in any platform, you can find it. It's just a wonderful show. I can't wait. Like, I'll probably watch it tomorrow after work. Like about Flying Brian Pillman, who was one of my favorites when I was younger, because I thought, like, everybody likes to find someone who they look at and say, I could be like that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I couldn't be Hulk Hogan. Like, I'm 5'2", like, well, at one point I was 150 pounds, like when I was in high school, but, I'm 5'2", like, I'm never going to be a Hulk Hogan type. But then I see a guy like Flying Brian Pillman and what he was able to do. And not only as a high flyer, because, like, I don't have that kind of agility, but when he got a little restricted later in his career and wasn't really Flying Brian anymore, like, he found new ways to work.
Yeah.
And it was a guy that I always thought, I'm like, man, I could be like that guy. Like, I could do what he does. Like, yeah, and there's something about those guys that you identify with. Now, some people might see that and be like, oh, okay, so you don't think he was that good? No, I think he was tremendous. Like, in the fact that he was able to wrestle in a time when giants wrestled. And, like, those were the guys in WWE and even WCW at the time. Like, they didn't embrace cruiserweights until, like, 96, 97.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, for a guy like Brian Pillman, who the Super Brawl 2, him and Jushin Thunder Liger stole that damn show. Like, again, if you want to go back and find a great pay-per-view to watch, I encourage everybody, go on Peacock, and if you can find it in their disorganized mess, but find Super Brawl 2. You don't have to watch the whole show. Just watch the first match. Flying Brian Pillman versus Jushin Thunder Liger for the Light Heavyweight Championship. It is a phenomenal match. Like, still to this day, and this was 1992, in my mind, ranks as one of the greatest matches one of my favorite matches I've ever watched.
Yeah, I was looking around on Peacock the other night to see what WCW stuff they added. They added the one I wanted them to add finally, the Starrcade.
Which Starrcade was it you were looking for?
The Sting versus Hollywood.
Oh, 97? Okay.
Yep. So I found that one. I'm learning how to navigate it a lot easier now.
Yeah, I've seen where if you click on like what they do is they have each event, and then you click on it, and then it'll ask you. Well, it says seasons instead of just give me 97, 98.
Yeah, I don't get why they put.
Because each season, there's one episode in each season. You don't need to do that. Like,
yeah,
it just feels like they just didn't want to change it from how they do all their other shows and every other part of Peacock.
Yeah. Oh, WWE should have just kept it on their own thing.
I think so too, but I guess $2 billion goes an awful long way to convince you.
Yeah, I mean, they're losing a lot of talent, and talent is going to their biggest competitor now, which is AEW.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I want to talk about AEW next. This past week, AEW revived what was an old WCW thing, War Games, calling it Blood and Guts since WWE owns the right to the term War Games. They can put the same match on. They just call it something different. Like,
Right.
I mean, just like, Impact Wrestling, they call match Full Metal Mayhem. It's TLC. That's what the match is. It's TLC, tables, ladders, and chairs, which, hey, that's our namesake. But that's what the event is. But they call it Full Metal Mayhem, and so they get away with it. Mm-hmm. And this is Blood and Guts, and so they can get away with it. And it's really what the old school War Games was, which is the 2 rings, 2 cages with the top on it. And it is one of the coolest things to watch. I love it, and it's perfect for factions, which WWE doesn't do factions anymore. I don't know why. You don't have stars. The biggest thing factions do is create stars.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it just sounds to me like problem, solution. It seems pretty simple to me. Like,
And AEW is filled with factions.
yeah, and they have some, Inner Circle versus Pinnacle. Like, this is what Blood and Guts was made for. And I am so glad they did that match. Everything went the exact way it should have. Like, it was awesome. And anybody who hasn't watched it yet, I highly recommend it. Like, I couldn't recommend it higher. I saw a couple of people today, like, on different social medias kind of poo-pooing it. I don't understand. Like, if that's not good to you, I just don't understand what you think good wrestling is.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of social media about it, but I didn't get a chance to watch it yet.
Again, highly recommend it. I'm not going to spoil it for you. I'm not going to tell you who won. Anybody watching here, if you haven't already watched it, if you don't already know who won, like, I don't want to spoil it for you either. Go back and watch it, like, whether it be TNT on demand or, like, if you DVR'd it like I usually do. Like, go back and watch that. It is so worth it. The best, like, it's about an hour of the, like, so it's about half of the show.
Oh,
Probably
wow.
a little less than half of the show. But absolutely worth every second of it. Like, again, I can't say enough good things about it.
You know what the cool thing about AEW is that they're giving us matches like that's like a pay-per-view quality match right there, and they're giving it to you on a regular show.
Right. And WWE, like, they have been trying to give you some pay-per-view level matches, like on NXT, but they haven't, like Monday Night Raw. Well, okay, maybe SmackDown this past week with Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan, but
Yeah.
But I almost feel like that was them just basically saying, hey, wait, this idea has been working for AEW. Why don't we try it?
Yeah.
And not that there's anything wrong with, look, I don't think there's anything wrong with looking at somebody else and saying, hey, this is working for them. Like, so let's try. Like I always say in the NFL is a copycat league. Why can't wrestling be a copycat league where, look, I mean, if it works, try it. Like,
I mean, what's so wrong with WWE throwing a cage match on Monday Night Raw or a ladder match or a tables match or something? Because that's what they used to do.
right.
But
And I
now,
feel like they need to do something like, well, one of the things AEW have been doing was building up and telling you ahead of time, hey, this match is going to happen next week. And now Monday Night Raw is finally starting to do it. Like, they announced already that Drew McIntyre is facing Lashley next week one-on-one before the triple threat match at Backlash. And now I refuse to call it the other thing. I'm not calling it that.
WrestleMania Backlash?
I'm not saying that. I don't know what you're talking about. And so, yeah, I mean, and it was the match that was originally scheduled for Backlash. And instead now is a triple threat. And look, I don't even have a problem with the triple threat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm fine with that. Like, in fact, I kind of like that they're doing something different than just giving us the WrestleMania rematch.
Yeah.
A lot of times that's what Backlash is. It's just a series of WrestleMania rematches. But
I want to know what they're doing with Edge because I haven't heard anything about him since WrestleMania.
I wonder if, like, because Edge only has so many appearances he has to make a year. I wonder if it's just a matter of, like, they're kind of just letting him be off TV for a little bit and come back in and challenge either for the Universal title or, maybe even just let him walk into Monday Night Raw and face someone like an AJ Styles.
Yeah, but they got to have him do a couple matches just to keep his body used to it because if he goes away for too long, he's not going to have any stamina when he comes back again.
His first match back after being out after the torn tricep, he went the distance in the Royal Rumble.
True.
I feel like for Edge, like Edge is just, he's built different. He can take time. He comes in and it's like riding a bike. Yeah, he just takes off and goes.
Yeah.
And you don't want to do that too often. I mean, look, I think that's part of the reason why some of the Undertaker's matches were really bad over the course of the last few years of his career. was he would only wrestle once or twice a year. Well, I mean, if you're only doing it, like you only get better at something by continuing to do it. And contrarily, you get worse the less you do it regularly.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's what happened to The Undertaker. I mean, as much as, Father Time catches up with everybody, they say Father Time's undefeated.
Yeah.
And he definitely, took that and Goldberg took The Undertaker down a peg because of how freaking just reckless Goldberg always was and always will be in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
That guy should not be allowed to get in a wrestling ring. At his age, like when he wrestled Drew McIntyre at the Royal Rumble, I was just so scared. One, I was scared that he was going to win. And two, I was scared he was going to freaking end Drew McIntyre's career.
Yeah.
Like, I was legit worried. And I was more worried about him ending Drew McIntyre's career. Because especially given how, how they took the belt off of Drew and then didn't let him win it back at WrestleMania. They didn't give him the WrestleMania redo moment. Like, knowing all that now, I almost wouldn't care if Drew McIntyre had lost the belt to Goldberg. Because, okay, what's one less month as champion?
Yeah.
I mean, but, having Goldberg injure Drew McIntyre would have been the worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think even Goldberg would tell you that. I know he doesn't want to hurt anybody, but, I mean, the way he was with The Undertaker, of course, do I really have to talk about how Bret Hart's career ended?
Yeah, it was oof.
Which that's actually a match I want to go back and watch because I'm interested to see. I've never watched that match, and so I'm interested to see where the injury happened. Did Bret have to wrestle a good bit after that? Because if he did, and he wrestled with the concussion that would end his career all the way to the end, good on him.
Mm-hmm.
That just is another example of Bret Hart's toughness.
Yeah, it's a shame too because I would like to see Bret Hart wrestle a lot more.
Sure. And I mean, now his career was probably winding down anyway. He was a shell of himself in WCW. He was, I always say the guys that, hold on too long, they become a parody of themselves. Bret Hart had kind of become a parody of himself. But I feel like that's more on WCW than Bret Hart.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe even a little on WWE for, the way they killed him off at the end.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like that killed his drive. And the Bret Hart that WCW got, it was like there was no passion behind him.
Yeah, he didn't seem like the Bret Hart from WWE, that's for sure.
No. And again, I don't know if that's more because of what happened with WWE or if that was just because of WCW or if Bret was just like, hey, I got a huge payday. I don't really got to work.
Yeah.
Any one of those things could have been factors. Before we get out of here, I want to ask, of the subjects that we've covered tonight, are you more excited? Where are you adding your excitement level right now as a wrestling fan? First, that'll be my first question.
Like what? Like 1 out of 10?
Sure.
I'd say maybe a 5.
Okay, so you're kind of in the middle.
Yeah, I could take it or leave it at this point because it's just the only thing that's keeping me interested and which I want to start watching it more is AEW.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as WWE, they just I don't know, they're so weird now. The whole thing with Alexa Bliss and how she's doing her own thing, and now it's just doesn't make any sense anymore.
Well, I'm curious, what the Lily character and Alexa Bliss is going to mean on Monday Night Raw. I'm curious to see how that goes, and I'm trying to approach it with an open mind. I feel like it could easily go sideways on WWE.
Oh yeah, because we all know WWE. Triple H is doing a hell of a job with NXT.
Oh, sure.
And I don't know why they're not giving him more say so on Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, because ultimately, Raw and SmackDown, those are Vince's babies.
Well, he's losing his babies because I guarantee they're losing viewers day by day because of how stale the shows are. Like that match between Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns was really good,
Mm-hmm.
but that was it. Monday Night Raw is like the flagship show, and they don't do anything with it.
Well, Monday Night Raw's that's been on SmackDown, the Roman and Daniel Bryan feud, and that.
Right. But like, there's no like yeah, we have Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley feud, but it's not really like escalating like it should.
Well, yeah, I certainly think that they're not doing enough to bring along stories, and like instead of adding Braun Strowman to the Drew McIntyre Bobby Lashley match, they should have added a stipulation, like make it a strap match or make it, a steel cage.
Yeah, Hell in a Cell.
Yeah. And have it be Drew McIntyre's last chance. Like, if he loses, he doesn't get another title match as long as Lashley's champion.
Yeah.
Like, they should have done more with that. I'm always a fan of the 3 stages of Hell match.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's another event. I went back and rewatched not that long ago, No Way Out 2001, which Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Triple H in a 3 stages of Hell match. First fall, regular wrestling. Second fall was a street fight. Third fall was steel cage. And like it was just great. Each fall felt like its own match and told another story.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's what good matches. Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, 2 out of 3 falls. Like, what would be wrong with that?
Yeah.
I do think they should have upped the ante. I don't think adding Braun Strowman ups the ante. At least it doesn't move my needle. Like, Braun just doesn't move my needle. I don't know what it is. Like, I never bought into him as a main event character. As a WWE champion or Universal champion. I wanted him to win the Universal title last year from Goldberg just because I didn't want Goldberg to have it.
Right.
I just don't buy into the long term. Like, I don't buy into Braun Strowman as like the main eventer.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that? Are you on the Strowman Express?
No, definitely not. And then he's just not a good promo guy at all.
What I'd love to see Braun Strowman move back into the heel role. And I'd love to, like, if you were to put the belt on Braun Strowman, it would be different, but like I'd want Braun to win it as a heel and let him work with some undersized baby faces. Like, let him and Ricochet wrestle for the WWE Championship. And, because Ricochet would be that, underdog fighting this giant. And look, I feel like everybody, at least, again, this would be something that would appeal to me, a smaller guy. Watching that smaller guy be that ultimate underdog fighting the bigger guy and the big Braun Strowman. And we all want to see him win. And then, like, if you take that away from us, like, yeah, we might get angry in that moment, but, like, we're going to tune in to see the underdog try to come back again.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that would be a path to go. But, I mean, you already have the indestructible Lashley. You could put him in the ring with just about anybody smaller, and it could be that great underdog story.
Yeah.
But bottom line, if Drew's not winning the title at Backlash, you need to get him away from the championship picture. Like, you can put him in a rivalry with Braun Strowman and let them fight each other, for the next 6 months in like brutal matches. And you can get Drew back to aiming for the main event and aiming for the championship. But to me, honestly, the earliest you could do that, if you have him lose at Backlash, is maybe TLC in December.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to go a solid 6 months away from the title scene. And I think it's doable. Like, you could have, like, again, you have him and Braun Strowman feud. You could have him and Sheamus feud. Like, there are things you can do with Drew right now to get him away from it. You've already got this Mason T-Bar thing. Like, they're supposedly coming after Drew. You don't know why. They could cost Drew the championship at Backlash, and then, that sets Drew into, like, all of a sudden it's like, hey, maybe they've got this other person they're working for, and that can become a big storyline. Well, there's stuff they can do, and I'd like to see them do something. Like, again, if they're not putting the belt on Drew, I personally would still like to see Drew McIntyre with another run as the champion.
Definitely.
Yeah. We can certainly talk about that. We got Backlash coming up next Sunday, not this coming. What is that? The 16th.
Yeah.
Is Backlash. And so next week we'll preview that. We'll talk more about what's going on with the AEW. And hopefully, if you've watched Blood and Guts by then, I feel like it's okay at that point, even if others haven't, that you can spoil it then. Like, I always say, everybody gets, 3 days to watch something before it's understood, dude, if you haven't watched it by that point, just stay away from social media. You're going to see spoilers.
Yeah.
I always try to give people 3 days. I feel like that's a good benchmark to put out there. So that means when we get back here next week, it's been way more than 3 days. It will have been 8 days since that event. So we'll be well within our rights to discuss it then.
Yeah.
And so everybody, have a great night. Joe, anything to add before we get out of here?
No.
All right, keeping it consistent. I love it. All right, everybody, have a great night and happy wrestling.
Happy wrestling.